What happens when your worst fear becomes your reality? Hi, I'm Brent Cassity. Welcome to the Nightmare Success In and Out podcast, where we explore how to overcome your fears and nightmares and set yourself free. We're going to be exploring this topic with guys I was in Leavenworth with and others who survived their own nightmare. These stories can be inspiring, sometimes sad. There's some humor, but hopefully you can come away with a nugget of something that'll help you knock down some of the prisons you built up in your own mind. All right, welcome back, Nightmare Success In and Out listeners. This is where you come for what happens when your worst fear becomes your reality. How do you adapt, survive, overcome, set yourself free? Well, I know you guys hear this all the time, but don't forget to follow, subscribe, share this thing out, like it up. It really helps the show, and I really appreciate it. So who are we talking to today? Well, I always love it when I can get referrals from a previous guest. And Los Dada, who is episode 92, he actually met my guest in the halfway house. And so Saffron Gustafson, I can't say her name, Gustafson. We're just going to go by Saffron because it's just a really confusing. And I really like her name. And Saffron's such a cool name. And she just told me that she was named after the Mellow Yellow song, late 60s popular song. And it's also a spice, I think, and over in Asia somewhere. Cool name. So Saffron's got one of those stories where, you know, this is a smart girl. She's got dual degrees. She's got an MBA. She grew up in Oregon, and then she was really good in the field of, she got into medical sales, and then she ended up owning her own medical business that was in multiple locations. And one day she just gets a knock on the door or a phone call. She's actually out of town, and it's the FBI, and they're raiding her places. And it's I've heard this so many different times where a business owner is just going through life, and all of a sudden, and Saffron said, it was like, well, can I just correct whatever it is? You know, I don't know what you're doing or what you're looking for. As it comes out, there was a whole long thing that went on with she wasn't getting payment from this insurance company, and went back and forth. And then it ended up to be a huge thing that they referred her to the FBI. And then there was a lot of pressure tactics and everything else. And she ends up serving prison time in Dublin, which Dublin's gotten a lot of, it got closed down. And I think the warden went to prison. There were all kinds of rape allegations from all kinds of different people. I can't wait to jump into this whole thing and unpack it with Saffron. Before we do, I want to recognize show sponsor Auto Plaza Direct. You know, who likes spending a couple of weekends walking car lots, looking for a car, and then you spend 4 or 5 hours at the dealership to buy a car? It's kind of like a root canal appointment. Well, there's a better way to take away all that pain and hassle of getting a car. It's called Auto Plaza Direct. They're your personal car concierge. Just tell them the car you want, what you can pay, and they'll go find that car for you. They'll negotiate your best price. They also offer you warranties and financing. It's all full service. Go to autoplazadirect.com to get started with your personal car concierge. It's the new hassle-free way, the car buying experience you deserve. Auto Plaza Direct. Tell them Brent from Nightmare Success sent you. Folks, check out this book, Dr. Not Guilty, by exonerated psychiatrist and internist Muhammad Ali Rafai. It's the battle cry and blueprint for anyone misjudged by a system that should protect the innocent. The book takes you inside the investigation, the courtroom, the hard nights when faith and courage remain. You will meet the prosecutors and agents who failed, and the physicians, families, and patients who refused to surrender. This book reveals the truth about how power can distort justice and how resilience can truly set you free. Read it, share it. Join Dr. Rafai, demanding accountability and restoring honor and dignity to medicine and the rule of the law. Dr. Not Guilty. Check it out. Saffron, welcome in.
Hi.
And we'll,
Glad to be here.
Gustafson.
Yeah.
Gustafson.
It's a difficult one, definitely.
Gustafson. Saffron Gustafson.
You have my first name with that last name, and it's a lot. I know.
So, Saffron, I know we talked on the phone about your situation, and it's just, you know, one of those fascinating things of somebody who's doing really well and all of a sudden they're not, and then they get turned into the spin cycle that they never thought they were going to be in. And the naive way that someone goes into this because you know nothing about it,
Mm-mm.
everything's like a new frontier to try to figure out. But take us back a little bit. Who was Saffron growing up? Where were you living? Parents, siblings, all that. Where was all that happening?
Absolutely. Yeah, so I was born in Cottage Grove, Oregon,
Sounds
and
nice.
yeah, it's a very, very small, middle of nowhere place. I grew up in a town called Springfield, Oregon.
Okay.
It's, roughly about 20 minutes east of Eugene, Oregon. A lot of people know where Eugene is.
Yeah, I've heard of
Um,
Eugene or heard of
yeah,
Springfield.
yeah. So, Springfield is also a very, very small mill town, and I grew up there with my parents. They were young parents, and they started a janitorial, a cleaning business, and so I grew up working that and understanding business firsthand my entire life. And
So your parents were entrepreneurs.
yes, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's funny how
Um,
that happens. You 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 see people a lot of times that get in and they build big businesses and you say, well, like, how did you learn how to do it? Well, I worked in my parents' business and they started it and then I started my own. And it's funny how you
I
learn the
my
different pieces
entire
of that.
life, yeah, my entire life I was around business and seeing how that worked, and so my mind just automatically thinks like that. It's very hard for me to work for other people. I usually end up turning it into something of my own,
Sure.
and it's hard. It's just that's just how I grew up. But I have a younger brother. We're roughly about 18 months apart, so
That's
not too much
close.
younger. Yeah. But
My middle daughter, Carly, is pregnant right now and her Olivia and the new baby boy are going to be 17 months apart, and that's
yes,
really close. I mean,
yeah.
that's like almost, not
No,
twins,
it's
but
yeah,
it's within a time period that's pretty close.
yeah, so growing up, I mean, I was only, like, a grade above him and, like,
Yeah.
we were pretty much, the same growing up exactly the same. Um, and, he's in the legal industry, and, he has a family now, and all of that. I never did the family route, and I was always very much into business and, wanting to go more that route, which I was very happy with, and I liked
So
doing
when
that.
yeah, so when you were in high school and went to college, were you thinking, um, when I get out, because you went into a sales field,
Mhm.
very competitive, but
Yep.
people could do really, really well with medical
Mhm.
sales. So when you were in high school, were you a good student, in high school and
I was
college?
a very good student. I was on the dean's list,
Yeah,
and I wasn't like the best student, but I definitely did well.
yeah.
Always studied and made sure everything was done. And then I ended up going to University of Oregon in Eugene, and I loved school. I loved learning, and I didn't know off the bat that I was going to go into owning my own business, although I knew that was, came second nature to me, just like, yeah. My At that time, being young, I was, "Oh, I wanna get into pharmaceutical sales. I wanna get into medical sales because I knew that was a really good industry at that time as a young person to get into and be able to work your way up and make a decent, living. And my whole thing was I always wanted to, be very independent and never have to count on anyone. And so I was like, this is my ticket. This is what I'm going to get into, pharmaceutical sales or medical sales. And so all through college, that was my initial goal, was to do that. And I got my first degree in general science, and that was actually very difficult for me.
Yeah.
But I did it, and then I went back and got a second degree in social science. Did very well on that. Was on the dean's list for that one. That was much easier for me to do. And then I was like, I can't be done with school. I'm still a kid. And so
Right.
I ended up
Don't want to
going to
be an
grad
adult
school.
yet.
Yeah, yeah. I was working when I went to grad school.
Okay.
And I was in sales. Um, I was I did copy and like fax machine type sales when I was in grad school. And I did nights and weekends to get through grad school, and then worked full time.
So you roll out of grad school.
Hmm.
What do you roll into? What's the big plan?
Yeah, so I right away get into medical sales, and I worked for a company that we sold different types of orthopedics,
Mhm.
knees for amputees, legs for amputees. I did a lot of like compression type garments because with amputees there can be a lot of swelling and
Mhm.
what's called lymphedema and things of that nature, venous insufficiency, a lot of that. So I would sell different types of medical garments, compression type garments, um, and I I had a pretty right away. I did pretty well in that, and the company I was working for started a brand new type of garment, and they were custom made, and they were very popular in the European market, but newer to the U.S. market, and so they wanted to get into that, and so once I learned that part, I ended up being in the top 5 out of the whole entire company nationwide, sales reps for the lymphedema custom made garments.
Wow.
Yes, and so
And,
that's
when you were doing that, I'm assuming in that world of sales, you get a region, and it's one of those things where you've got to figure out how to get past the gatekeeper and talk to the right person, and there's
yes.
a whole technique to being able to get the sale.
So my region was Oregon, uh, parts of Washington, Idaho,
Oh, it's a
and
big region.
yeah, and Northern California. And
Okay.
so and
Right.
I just jumped into it, and it was really natural for me, and it was very easy for me, and I had a lot of fun, and that's how I kind of got started in that.
So when you
And
was it the time that you got to the top of the country, the top of the company, that you were thinking about maybe I could do this on my own?
Well, so sort of. So the lymphedema garments were the custom made garments. And that's what I really, really did very well in. And what I would do is I would
Is that
go
for like circulation?
yeah, so it's not specifically for patients who have had cancer, but it a lot of the patients were wound care and cancer patients, and
Mhm.
that's because the lymph glands a lot of the times during treatment for cancer, different cancer treatments, they can be damaged or even removed,
Mhm.
and now that causes a lot of excess swelling, and the lymph fluid isn't able to metabolize, and so it has to be moved to other lymph glands that are. And so these garments, I would design them, and the manufacturer would make them, and we would always work with vascular surgeons and lymphedema therapists on their treatment plans so that we could make a garment or design a garment that would move the lymph fluid to the stagnant lymph fluid to other lymph glands that were working so the body could metabolize it, then the swelling would eventually start going down. That's explained in real simple terms, but
Well,
that's
no, it sounds like a great product for
yeah. Oh,
people.
yeah, and, it worked really, really it does work very well, and, so I would go through all my accounts and the ones that seen a lot of patients coming in, that did that, I would schedule, full days with them where I would just design garments for the really complicated cases that the normal compression garment that was already available wasn't working for. And a lot of these patients, their next resort was going to have surgery, maybe even an amputation. I mean, it was like I was seeing like the worst case scenarios, but the my clients, their patients, they were like, well, if this works, great, because we can prevent them having to possibly get surgery or something more extreme. And if it doesn't work, oh, well, it doesn't hurt anyone. That's kind of how they looked at it in the beginning when I was trying to come in and do that. It ended up becoming really successful. And a lot of my accounts, they would call the days that I came in Saffron days. Not the company's name,
Right.
but Saffron days, because I would spend literally, if they opened at 8 o'clock in the morning, I was there from 8 to 8 o'clock at night when they closed, or whatever. I was there, 7 days a week if needed, to make sure that we seen as many of these patients as possible, to get them in these garments and see if they would work. And the success rate was really, really high. Of course, it doesn't work for everyone. But the majority of the patients, we were able to get them where in a spot where they wouldn't have to now go get extreme surgery or be on extreme medication or anything like really super extreme to help their condition. A lot of them we were able to help just with a properly designed compression garment.
So this
And so
becomes a
that was
big
really cool.
deal. So this becomes a big deal. You get known for it,
Yeah.
for helping these people. What happens next?
So my background obviously wasn't being an orthotist. So
Yeah.
I didn't really talk to them about wanting to own a business, but I definitely talked to a lot of my DME accounts, that worked with more the breast prosthesis and the compression garments and that sort of thing, because I didn't have to have schooling in orthopedics to be able to do that.
Right.
And so I was like, I would tell all of my DME accounts that I was comfortable with that someday I would love to own a similar type of DME. I could help a lot of people. And eventually, one of the accounts that I had a small satellite business. Their main one was in Portland, Oregon,
Okay.
but they had a small satellite one in Vancouver, Washington, which is just over a bridge. It's basically Portland, but it is in Washington.
Hmm.
And it was failing, and they wanted to sell it so they could get some extra capital for their main one in Portland. And so I had talked to them many times over the years that I would love to own something like this. And so they came to me and they said, "Are you still interested? Um, we're looking to sell our satellite one in Vancouver, Washington." It was in the red by I think around 40,000, something like that. It was not successful, but it wasn't because it didn't have
It's
potential. It just
repairable. If somebody came in and could do a good job. Yeah.
yeah, I'm like it just needs some attention. It needs some good marketing to the medical community. And that was part of my route that I did as a sales rep. So I knew all the medical community in that area. And
Hmm.
I had at that time, I had an extremely good relationship with the hospitals, with the main surgeons, with the lymphedema therapist, with everyone that I would be going to get their prescriptions, to get them to send patients to me. I already had a really good relationship with them, and they already trusted me pretty well with this
That'd be a big
particular
deal.
type of garment.
Yeah.
So
So
that's
you take
kind of
it
how
over.
I got
So you
into
take it. You
it.
take over this little satellite deal, and it does well.
Yeah. It took it. The initial was, so there again, just super naive to it, right? But I knew I was. I'm like, I know business, I know this industry. I don't know how to run a business, and I don't know how to run a medical business.
Mhm.
Um, but I was confident that I could figure it out with the background that I had. Um, and so I have a master's in business. And although that's school and not real life, and real life is very different than school, I'm like, I very.
Yeah.
I was like, you know, my naive mind, I'm like, I've got this, I can do this. And I did. I was able to do most of it pretty quickly. The initial thing that was like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize this, is getting contracted with the medical insurances. That's how you get paid. So the medical community can send you all their patients all day long. But if
Mhm.
you don't have if you're not a preferred provider, if you're
Yeah.
not
You're not in
contracted,
network.
yep, you can. I mean, you can of course bill the insurance
Sure.
company, but they're not going to pay you. So
Mhm.
you're not going to get paid.
Yeah.
And these patients can't afford these garments. They're very expensive because they're custom made. There's a
Mhm.
lot to it. So you want these medical insurances, you want these contracts. And that was a huge part of the business that initially I did not understand. Um, and I understood it real quick. It didn't take me long to really understand
It jumped up
that.
the priority list. Yeah.
Yes, exactly, exactly. And the people that I purchased the business from, they did explain it to me, but I don't. They didn't explain it to me in real detail because I think they wanted me to buy it so they could. And that's not a bad thing. But they
Yeah.
could have explained it a little bit more, knowing I didn't know. However, they were willing to help me stay afloat. And helped me out a little bit with all of that um, until I got the medical insurance contracts. But that was a huge process. Everyone told me no because I was new. I was a
Mhm.
kid. I was
Mhm.
like in my early
How
30s.
old would you have been at this time when you
I
took over this
30. I
business?
started it when I was
30
30.
years old. Yeah.
Yeah. Now I had a lot of background, but they just looked at me as a kid
Yeah.
and what do you know? And no, we're not going to give you this medical insurance contract. Are you kidding me? And so it took a lot of work and inviting the medical insurance like contract managers. I would invite them to come and spend full days with me so they could just see what I was doing and how I
Mhm.
would be helping their members. And long story super shortened, it was a little bit of a nightmare, but it
Yeah.
it did I did end up getting them, and that it was because they seen what I was doing for their members, and they didn't realize that's what I was doing.
So
And
how soon was it, Saffron, that you thought, "Hey, I think I've got this down to where I understand it," that you went into multiple locations?
so that took it took probably a couple years
Yeah.
of
It's not that
really.
long.
Yeah. I mean, but in my mind at the time, I'm, 7 days a week. I'm
Yeah.
putting in, yeah, as you know,
Yeah.
7 days a week, putting in like literally there were days I'm like, I'm just gonna sleep here because there's no point for me to drive back because I have to be here so early and do it all over again.
Right.
And I was fine with that. I loved it. I'm like, this is so exciting. I was like, I literally would have to pinch myself sometimes to be like, I am doing this. This is real. This is amazing. And so it took a couple years. I was in the very small little satellite place. I remodeled it so that it looked more like a medical clinic. It was a little bit more designed as like an older lady's dress shop, and they
Mhm.
did that because when they started it, it was in the 70s, and breast cancer was you just didn't talk about it. And
Mhm.
so they designed it so that if women were coming into that location, people would just think they were coming in there to buy a sweatshirt or a dress or something, not that they were going in there because they had breast cancer. So I understand why they did that, but me coming in, I was like, oh, no, no.
This has to look different. Let's bring
Yeah,
this
yeah.
up. Let's bring it up to the 21st century or the 20th century.
Exactly. Yeah, and and views had changed. It wasn't shameful to have breast cancer. Nobody wants it, of course, but it's
Right.
definitely it's not shameful to have it, and it's just different views, and
Right.
and different times. And I understood that, but I was like, this needs
How
to
many
change.
people How many people, when you started expanding out Saffron in these multiple locations, how many people did you have that were working with you or for you?
Yeah, so it started off. So when I first started, it was just me, and the the company that I bought the business from, they did have two employees, but that didn't work. So pretty quickly, it was just me, and so I did that probably for good year, and it was just me. But then started getting, once I had the medical insurance contracts, started getting busier and busier and busier, and I was missing, at that time, faxes were a big thing. So
Mm-hmm.
a lot of, medical clinics and hospitals and doctors were sending me prescriptions and things on through fax. And I was missing a lot of, I mean, I'd eventually get it, but I was missing them. I was missing phone calls. Of course, I would return phone calls, but it might be way later in the day, and now that doctor's not in anymore, and they needed to call me immediately on a patient they had in their office right then. Things like that. And so I was like, okay, I need to get a receptionist. And so I started off with a receptionist, but I trained even the receptionist how to do pretty much everything. So it wasn't just a receptionist; it was
Mm-hmm.
someone that,
Makes sense. Yeah.
yeah, that would do what I do, but also would answer the phones and stuff.
Yeah.
And so I ended up, not everyone had a medical background that worked for me, but many of who I hired had nursing backgrounds, medical assistant backgrounds, CNA backgrounds, and or they had worked in the hospital and medical environment for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So um, it wasn't like a different environment for them. They could pick up on things pretty quickly. And if I sent them to training and that sort of thing with the different companies I worked with, they learned it pretty quickly and were able to help patients. So I had, there again, not everyone, but a lot of the people that worked for me had medical background and medical experiences. So that was pretty cool too.
So on how many locations did you end up having?
I ended up having five
Five
locations
loc.
in three different states.
Okay.
I
And so of that, how many people would be at a location? Three or four people at a location?
Yeah, so anywhere from probably 3 to 4, just depending on how busy that particular location was.
Okay.
Um, that's always a juggling game because you want to make sure that you have enough employees to see patients, but
Right.
you, as a business, running the business, you want to try to make sure that you're not spending out a lot that you don't need to spend. And so it
Right.
was a real juggling act of
Stay
figuring
in
out,
control of your expenses.
yeah,
So you end up going along here. You're expanding out, and then you have some issues with a particular insurance company that's not paying you,
yeah,
and they continue to not pay you, and you have to go to court, right?
yes,
Is that what
yeah.
happened?
Yeah, so um, it's a very big insurance company. I don't really want to say the name, but it's a very big one that everyone would be very familiar with. And they had warned me, cautioned me, to not open up any more clinics. They were not happy that I was um, billing them for so many claims for the, very specifically, the custom made lymphedema garments.
Hmm.
And I said, well, I'm only opening up clinics due to the demand that I'm getting from the medical community. So sorry, I was there again. I was very naive to how scary insurance companies can be.
Well, no,
Um,
insurance companies can be to the point like it's very known now. I mean, if you're
Now it
in,
is.
well, I mean, an insurance company, they don't like a certain amount of claims you made. They'll send you a letter and say, "Hey, if you file any more claims with us, we're going to drop you."
Yep.
That's
Yep.
that's very
Absolutely.
that's part of the world of
Yes.
insurance is about making money, not necessarily anything else.
It's not about helping. Yeah, helping their members, and at least in my experience, I can only speak from my experience. But in my experience, that they we're not in the business of helping their members. So I was naive, and I was basically like, well, too bad, do whatever. I'm opening up as many as I need based on the demand from the medical community. That's who I serve, that's why I'm here.
Mhm.
And so I was in the middle of opening up a brand new location in Portland, Oregon, a really well-known spot at a really, really big, huge, well-known hospital. And the medical community that I worked with was really excited for me to be there because the more locations I had, it was easier for their patients who were not very mobile
To
to,
find you. Yeah.
yeah, to be able to get seen. Otherwise, if I was spread out with only a couple locations, it was very difficult for the majority of their patients to see me, because they were not where they could just jump in a car and drive over it. There's a lot of transportation issues and mobility issues and that sort of thing. So, anyways, that particular insurance company said, well, if you're going to be opening up this new location, because I had to let them know every time I opened up a new location to be able to be contracted for that particular location. Just
Mhm.
because I was contracted with them, that doesn't mean now I can bill out of another location. They have to approve each location, saying that I can be a preferred provider at that particular location. So that's how they knew. And they were like, well, we're going to come in and do a full audit then. And I'm like, well, okay, as if I care, do
Right.
whatever. Okay. And so I called my business lawyers because by this time I was always on the phone with my business lawyers just because insurance companies never wanted to pay.
Mhm.
And there was a whole process, big, huge process, and having to get approval before you even submitted the claim. And then you'd submit the claim with the approval and everything else. And they'd still deny it. It was a delay
A lot
tactic.
of red tape.
Yeah,
Yeah.
tons for every single patient. So,
Mm.
in every single location. So it I was my business lawyers at this time were very much involved in helping me get paid because it was just crazy dealing with these medical insurance companies. Anyways, so this one particular very large medical insurance company um, threatened to audit me, thinking that like I was going to think that was a horrible thing, but I didn't care. I'm like, well, audit me all you want. I mean,
Mhm.
I'm playing by the
Nothing to
rules,
hide.
like what? And so I let my business lawyers know, and they were like, yeah, let them. Who cares, right? Like it's not. You don't really want them to do that. It's not convenient, but also who cares?
Mhm.
So I was like, yeah, come on in, whatever. So they ended up coming in to my all my locations. They did a full audit, and their findings were that they didn't find anything, but they were holding, at least they were telling me they didn't find anything, and they were supposed to tell me if there was anything that they found, because technically if they find something, you're given a certain amount of
Certain amount
time
of
in
time to
writing,
correct it.
yeah, to
Mhm.
correct it. And then they would come back, and if that wasn't corrected, then you could get in trouble, and I mean they pull your contract, and
Mhm.
you could get in legal trouble too. So so they never gave me any findings, never anything, but they were holding my payments. So I was still getting authorization to bill them from them, but then they were not paying me. And this went on for months. And with how many patients I seen, with how many locations I had, that started to really add up. And that was hard on the cash flow to keep a business open
Mhm.
because I had, payrolls and rents and
Right.
buying product and all this stuff. So um my lawyers contacted them to their lawyers, and it was not getting resolved, so we decided to sue them. And it I won, and they were ordered to pay me. It wasn't paid anything for the amount of time or how long it took for them to pay me. It was literally to pay me for what they had already agreed to pay me that they didn't. So I wasn't asking for anything extra or anything like that for all the hassle that they caused me or anything. It was just simply pay me for what you had authorized to pay me. So that took them forever. They made that a really slow process. And but I did end up getting paid. And
So they did eventually, after they slowed everything, they did pay you.
yes, yeah.
Okay.
and they were legally ordered to, so they did. But it was not fast. They would just pay me like a little bit, like per month. It was ridiculous, but hey, at least I was getting paid. So the final payment came through, and so my business lawyers um, wanted to do a final, closure meeting with their business lawyers, and my business lawyers suggested that I would be in it on that meeting. So I was in their office. They were out of Portland, Oregon. So I was in their office, and we had the final meeting with this particular medical insurance company's lawyers. And it was just your typical, thank you. Okay, we're just finalizing it. Anything that needed to be signed on either side, that was getting resolved so that it was just done. And one of the lawyers said in the meeting at the end that Saffron did not learn her lesson, and she better watch her back. Mm. And me and my lawyers were like instantly like, what? And I think one of my lawyers were even like, what? Like, what?
Sounds like a
what?
mafia
Yes.
meeting.
Like, what are you talking about? What? Did I hear you right? I must have not heard you right. And so one of my lawyers said, you do understand that this money that you have paid did not go to Saffron as an individual, but Saffron the business, because it was Saffron Specialized Medical. Mm-hmm. And that particular lawyer from the insurance company just like was like, yeah, whatever, like totally really unprofessional, and was just like, yeah, right. And me and my lawyers are like, what? I mean, legally, I couldn't as a person take it. Anyway, it was strictly through the business, to the business, only the business. And so we were just like, like that's weird, right? And so when we got off of the conference call, my lawyers were like, they're going to pull your contract. And I was like, yeah, I mean, clearly. Right. They're not going to work with me.
Paid off, they'll take the contract, right?
Yeah. Obviously, they're going to. And so we kind of laughed about that because we were all prepared for that. And I had since found out with that particular insurance company, I could still bill them for the custom garments. There were some loopholes, and I found them where I could still bill them even if I wasn't a preferred provider. They wouldn't market me as a preferred provider. It would be a little bit harder to find if a patient was just looking for a location. But the medical community I already had a really good relationship with, so they were going to send to me anyways. Mm-hmm. Like me and my lawyers were just like, whatever, we don't need them anyways, it's fine. Mm-hmm. We collectively never thought that was the end, like done. And I got a certified letter, like, I don't know, a week later or whatever, saying that they immediately were terminating my contract with them, but I was prepared for it.
You knew that already, right?
Yeah, and I let my lawyers know, and we all kind of laughed, and it was like, ha, 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 having no idea what they were actually doing.
Well, and let's take a break there because I want to get into the nightmare part of this when it all comes down, because there's a lot that comes down, and how you find out about all this as a business owner, thinking that you're just doing what you do as a business owner, and all of a sudden you're dealing with the government. So a lot of people don't like how they show up online. Many individuals think there's no hope when it comes to managing your reputation on Google. There's hope. You can get a hold of the Discoverability company, and whether you're building your reputation from scratch, repairing your search results as a negative news story, Discoverability can also help you how you're portrayed on popular AI services like ChatGPT. To learn more about Discoverability company, go to discoverability.co, not .com, .co. They're even launching a do-it-yourself option, a course for individuals who want to take on their search results on their own budget and speed. Listeners of Nightmare Success can take $100 off the DIY SEO course with coupon code Nightmare Success. And the Nightmare Success podcast is sponsored by the White Collar Support Group, the world's first support group devoted to people navigating the white collar criminal justice system. I'm a member of the White Collar Support Group, and I can tell you this is a bunch of people who help each other through the criminal justice journey for free. Whether you're just starting your journey or you've made it through to the other side, this is a great space for you. You can join us on Zoom Monday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. For more information, go to prisonus.org, prisoners.org. And we're also doing, this year, we're working on a federal expungement statute that is badly needed in the federal system. So for anybody who's interested in that, go to prisoners.org. So, Saffron, you think everything's done. They've paid, they've canceled your contract, which you thought was going to happen.
Yeah.
Now what happens?
Yeah, so I'm just going about my life, you know, no really further issues. They were much harder to get payment from, but that was expected. So I'm
Right.
not thinking anything drastically, like, oh, they're coming after me. I never thought that me and my lawyers were prepared for them to really fight any future payment, but they did have to pay me. And I just wasn't bothered or alerted by the difficulty in getting paid from that particular insurance company going forward. So time goes on, and it's probably roughly about a year later, and I have a great opportunity presented to me to open up a location in Northern California. The medical community were starting to send me people from Northern California to my Portland locations, but it was getting really difficult. And
Yeah.
so there was there again, a DME location that was looking to sell, and it fit right into what I did already. And so I ended up um, opening a location in Northern California. It was in Santa Rosa, and the medical community in San Francisco also was interested. But you can only to be successful, you can't just open everything. You have to
Right. Well,
go
you
and
still have expenses.
yes, and insurance companies not paying on time. So,
Right.
you had to go slow. And so I first was like, well, I'll open the one because it's a great opportunity in Santa Rosa. And at first I was traveling there a lot, in living out of hotels and that sort of thing. But I'm like, that's getting really expensive. I'm spending more money than, believe it or not, what rent would be in San Francisco, which is extremely expensive, but the hotel stays were very expensive.
Yeah.
So I ended up just renting a condo in San Francisco, knowing that I was going to be eventually opening in San Francisco, but then I would just go to that condo and then I would drive to Santa Rosa and get that one built up and started, and then work on the San Francisco one. So I was in San Francisco at my condo. I had a house in Portland, Oregon that I purchased when I was a medical sales rep. So I would go back and forth. And um, so I just happened to be in my condo in San Francisco. And I'm getting these calls really early in the morning, just nonstop. And I it like wakes me up. It's like really early, and I'm like, like, what? Who's calling me? Oh my goodness! And I'm like, oh, maybe one of my managers, maybe is calling in sick, or maybe it's a hospital that has an urgent case or something. I don't know. So I look at my phone, and it's an Oregon area code, and so I'm like, huh. And there's multiple messages. And I'm like, what in the world, right? So I listened to the first message, and I had a location in a hospital in Oregon. It was actually inside the hospital. And that the hospital was calling me, leaving me messages that they were sure I already was aware, but the FBI was in the hospital raiding my clinic, and it looked really bad on that particular hospital. And could I please take care of it immediately? And I'm like, oh, I didn't hear that right. I
Wow.
listened to the message again. I'm just like, my body goes cold. And no, I heard it right. And I'm like, what? So I call the administration office to that particular hospital, and they're like, I can't talk to you. You need to take care of this, but I'm told I can't talk to you. And I'm like, wait, what? I just got a message saying there's FBI. Like, what? And they're like, yeah, they're all over. And you need to take care of it. I can't talk to you. And they hang up. And I'm like, what? What? And so I'm even shocked at that because I have a really good reputation and really, really good relationship with like everybody. And they'd usually be like, well, hey, Saffron, what's up? And they're
Yeah.
just like, I can't talk to you, like scared to even like they're going to get in trouble just even like answering the phone and I happen to be calling kind of thing. And I'm like, what? So I'm like, well, I'm just going to call the FBI. Like, I don't know who else to call. And so I call, well, actually I first try to contact my managers, right? No one is answering their phone, nobody. So I'm like, okay, so I'm like, I'm just going to call the FBI. And I'm like, is there an FBI in Oregon? There must be, right? I don't know. There was one in Portland. So I just have no idea, just Googled it.
You just called.
And yeah. And so I call and they answer and I tell them like, this is really weird. But, I'm in shock, right? So I'm not even upset. I'm just like, this is weird. And I don't know what's going on. Can you tell me? And so they were like, well, let me reach out to one of my agents and we'll get back to you. And I'm like, okay. So I sit there in my condo in San Francisco, just like stunned. Like, I don't even, like, what? And I'm expecting, very naively, I'm expecting a call back saying, oh, big mistake. It has nothing to do with you. We don't even know why the hospital said that to you. I mean, I'm like, I don't know. Right. And so an FBI agent calls me. I don't know it's an FBI agent at first, right? And so I'm like, hi, I'm thinking of someone from the administration office from the FBI place in Portland. So I'm explaining, I got this call and like I don't know, and can I just talk to someone? And then they were like, oh, well, I actually am here in the hospital. I am the lead FBI agent doing this raid. And yes, we're taking everything of yours, absolutely everything of yours and every clinic you own.
Mm.
And I'm like, oh, what?
Wow.
Yeah. And I'm just like super in shock. And I'm like, well, what do you need? You don't need to take everything. I'll just give it to you.
Right.
Like, what do you need? I will right now send it to you, like, or tell you where it's at or whatever. And, um, and I'm like,
And you haven't, and at this time, Saffron, you haven't made a phone call to your attorney, right?
no, because I didn't. I mean, I'm super like, what's going on? Why would I call my lawyer? This must be a mistake. This isn't any like, I don't know, right?
Mhm.
And I mean, just it's a normal day, and I get this really weird phone call. So I'm like in shock. And I'm like, well, what? And I'm super like, I don't even know what you're saying, like literally. And like, I hear the words, right? But I'm not computing what they're saying. You're rating I don't know what that means. Like in my
And
head,
did
I
he
am,
tell you, Saffron, did the agent tell you why they were raiding, or they just said we've got a
have,
warrant to raid your
yeah,
places?
exactly.
Yeah.
Have no idea, right? And that's why I'm like, what do you need? I will just give it to you. We don't need to make this big scene. Like, this is silly. You're
Right.
probably scaring my employees. You're scaring the hospital. Like,
Right.
and like, just tell me what you need. I'll be more than happy to give it to you. And they're like, well, would you talk to us? And I'm like, innocently, like, yeah, sure. And they're like, will you come in and talk to us? Yeah, I'll give you and tell me what you need. I'll just bring it. Like, sure, I'll talk to you and let's get this resolved. It's a mistake.
Right.
And then so this is a FBI agent that's in a hospital in Portland. I'm in my condo in San Francisco when this is happening. And the agent says, well, since you're in your condo in San Francisco right now, I'm sure you could book a flight to Portland. We're right next to the airport in Portland. We'd love to talk to you today. And I just was like, excuse me? You know that I am in San Francisco in my condo? And
Yeah.
they're
You
like, yeah,
knew
we know right
everything.
where you're at. I just immediately, I'm calling my lawyer. Thanks, bye. I hang up. I am like shaking. I feel like I'm going to throw up. I'm cold. Like, I've never felt this before. I thought I was going to literally die.
Yeah.
And I'm like freaked out. I'm in a condo that has these, floor to ceiling windows everywhere. I always have the blinds open because San Francisco is beautiful. And I was in a really pretty place and the weather's always like sunny and nice. And I'm just like, they're watching me. They literally know right this second where they're like watching me. And I freak out. I call I shut the blinds and I call my business lawyer. And they're thinking that I'm calling because of what I would always call them on, like some insurance company not paying me. And so they're kind of initially like making a joke, like, Oh, which insurance
So
company's not paying you
they hadn't
today?
been alerted at all. They
No,
didn't know
no,
anything about it. Okay.
not at all, nothing. And so I'm freaked out, but I'm not understanding how serious this is because I just have no reference to how serious it is. And so I'm like, well, gosh, something really horrible just happened. And I explain, and they freak out. They're like, do not talk to me. Do not say one more word. How dare you call the FBI? Do not talk to anybody. Do not say, what did you say? No, don't tell me what you said. I mean, it was like that. They're like, we're business lawyers. We could be called in. Like, we don't, like, no, don't talk to anybody. Don't even talk to us. We work with a criminal lawyer here in Portland. We're going to call them, see if they're available. And I'm like, a criminal lawyer? Why would I talk to a criminal? Saffron, don't even talk to me. Like, they were like blunt, and I'm like freaked. I'm like, what's going on? They're like, we'll be in touch. And I'm like, okay. And they're like, stay by your phone. And I'm like, okay. They hang up, and I'm like, I'm just sitting there, like in shock, like literally, just like I don't know. I'm just like literally sitting there, and probably 10 minutes goes by. I'm not sure. Seems like a million years, but I'm sure it was 10 minutes. And my business lawyer calls me back and again says, do not talk. I am just letting you know, stay by your phone. I talked to a criminal lawyer. This is their name, and they will be calling you. And I'm like, thanks. I mean, I don't even understand what's happening. My brain could not compute what was happening. And so there again, probably 10 minutes later, I don't know, seemed like forever. I got a phone call, and it was the criminal lawyer, and they were very cold, cool, collected, acted like I was a criminal. What did you do? Why don't you just tell me now so that I can help you? Because the longer we wait, I can't help you. So just tell me what you did. I wish I knew. I don't know. I don't think I did anything. I think this is a mistake. They're like, well, it's not a mistake because they wouldn't have done this unless they had a warrant. And to get a warrant, they would have been following you for a long time. And so they obviously have evidence on something. So why don't you just tell me, Saffron, what did you do so that we can get this, moving forward, basically, is what they said. And I'm like, I literally don't understand what's even
No.
happening.
Right.
And that's how it started.
Wow. So that's that sends chills down a lot of people's spines who have had to deal anything with that because you know there's the raid that happens at people's houses. I've talked to a lot of people who've had that happen. I didn't have that happen to me, but they made sure you were out of town so that you
Mhm,
could be away
mhm.
so that they could go in and raid all those places.
Yep.
And so what happens next in
Well,
this crazy
so
scenario of stuff?
oh, I mean, I
Now
was
your brother, is he an attorney?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
But
did you
just
talk to
totally
him about any of
no.
this?
Oh
No.
no. Because I was scared to talk to anybody because what the heck is going on? What are they going to do? Like, I don't want
Right.
anybody to be feeling what I'm feeling right now. And
Yeah.
I don't even know. I
So I
don't
guess your
know.
businesses at this point, are they effectively shut down?
So what I found out is so I eventually heard from one of my main managers that kind of managed all the stores,
Mhm.
and it was on a group text, and they were basically said, "Don't ever contact us again. I can't believe you did this to us." And it was, I later learned verbiage from the FBI because I'd never heard this before, but you're a mastermind in this fraudulent activity that you got us involved in. And I'm like,
Mm.
mastermind and fraudulent activity? Like, what are you talking about? So they were told not to talk to me anymore, and that there was, obviously this big, I was a
So
ringleader or something. I
did
don't
you
know.
have did you, Saffron, have any clue at all about what? Because I mean, what I think when you and I talked previously, this ended up running back around to that insurance company that ran back around to the FBI that then started as a referral and investigation. But did you think of any of that when this was all happening?
No, I
Yeah,
literally was like, I'm thinking, even though this is horrible, it's a mistake
it's got
and
to be
I'll
a
be able to
mistake,
fix it.
right? What
I mean,
what did
this,
they get wrong that I need to
yeah,
correct? Right.
yep. And so until I talked further with the criminal lawyer,
Yeah.
and they're like, no, it doesn't matter if it was a mistake. You're screwed.
Yeah.
You are officially screwed for
In the
life.
system now.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And they were like, be prepared. And this was later in the day because I talked to the criminal lawyer a couple times that day,
Mhm.
and they were like, it was the whole, send me a retainer so that I can get to work on this. Well, I'm going to reach out to the FBI. You don't ever talk to them again. I'll find out what this is about since you're not telling me. And I'm like, I don't know. I
Yeah.
would tell you if I knew. Um, this happened on a Friday. So they were, my criminal lawyers, like, I'll see what I can find out. We'll be in touch on Monday. Wire me over the funds so that I can get working on this, and we'll be in touch on Monday. And so when I did find out, um, I so the criminal lawyer eventually found out like what happened, that I was reported to the X. I'm like, how did this happen? I was reported to the FBI by this one particular company that goes by a couple different names. Now my criminal lawyer didn't know. I mean, they're not from the medical industry. And so they were like, I think this is an insurance company, but they had two names. I'm like, oh, they go by two names. I know exactly who this is. And so I explained the whole situation, like they didn't pay me. I sued them. I won. They threatened me, blah, blah. So I'm thinking this is easily going to be cleared up. They threatened me in front of my lawyers. There's record of that. So I think there was even an email threat. I'm like, so not only was it in a meeting with my lawyers, but I think they emailed that to my lawyers too. So there's record of it. So this can all be cleared, right? And that's my thinking. And that was literally my conversation. And the criminal lawyer is like, no, no, once they're involved, it does not matter what you did. You could do nothing. If they are involved, they will find something and you will be going to prison. And I'm like, oh, no. I mean, I'm like, I don't even have a speeding ticket, like literally. I'm like, prison? What? And still, that had not crossed my mind. Why would I be thinking I would be going to prison? Why would I be thinking I was actually going to get in legal trouble? I'm like, how? Like, this is not vocabulary in my world. This is not talk I would have. What? And, um, and they
Did
were
you
like,
reach
yeah,
out to
so
your parents and when all this was
so
happening?
when I got off when I ended up getting off the phone with them on that Friday, when this all went down, I called my parents and they were driving to see my brother and his family, and so they were out of town too, and they were freaking out. But I tried to calm them down and was like, "Oh no, I just talked to a lawyer. It's gonna get all fixed." I had no idea. I was just trying to not like freak them out, right?
Mhm.
And so that my mom's crying and they're just freaking, but I'm like trying to be like, no, it's fine. I don't like this is a mistake. I've contacted a lawyer. We're gonna get it. Like, don't freak out. Go visit, you know, my brother and his family and go have fun, and I'll get this figured out.
Mhm.
Well, it was maybe, I don't know, 5 hours later, because it was in the evening. I get a call and it's an FBI agent, and they're like, we're at your parents' house and we're going to break down the door if you don't tell us where the key is to get in. And I'm like, what?
Were your parents in business with you?
No. Mm-mm.
Okay.
But my dad would help me in paying bills.
Okay.
And so they had record of that. And so they thought, I have later learned, they thought that, they would find some major scheme somewhere in my dad's office or something that I was doing. And yes, stupid. And so I'm like, well, I don't know where the key is. I don't live at my parents' house. I don't know. And they're like, well, you have 5 minutes. And if you don't tell us, we're knocking down their door. I freak out because my parents would totally freak out if their door got busted open, right? And they're out of town and not nowhere close. So I call my mom and I'm like, you need to, where's the key? The FBI is at your house. They're going to do a raid there, but they're going to knock down the door if you don't tell me where the key is. My mom freaks out. I'm not telling you where the key is. I don't want them in there. And, and I'm like, tell me where the key is. So she eventually tells me. I call the agent back. I tell them, I stay on the phone to make sure that they find the key so they don't knock down my parents' front door. And they are when they found the key, because I was still on the line, they, in the background, there were multiple of them, and they were in the background, like, woohoo, we found it, let the fun begin. Like, they thought this was fun. And I'm like, this is disgusting. And so
Total nightmare.
they ended up literally raiding my parents' house, turning couches upside down, going through
Oh my God.
drawers, everything. And because they also knew they weren't home and that they weren't going to be home.
So what happens next?
Um, so they, so my parents end up coming back. They don't go visit my brother. And I end up the following Monday. I talk with a criminal lawyer. I find out that they have something like, it was 13 different charges against me, federal charges that would be equivalent to about 30 years. And I lost my mind because I'm still not even comprehending what's happening. And I have no clue what I could have possibly have done wrong. And
are they calling it insurance fraud? What are they charging you with?
So the big one, and it's so crazy. The big one was money laundering.
Money laundering, because
I didn't even know
once
what that.
your enterprise is deemed to be illegal, then anything you do with that money is money laundering.
Yeah,
right?
And I didn't even know what that meant. They had mail fraud. They had wire fraud.
Anything you put in once they deem your organization criminal, anything that you wire is wire fraud. Anything you put in the mail is mail fraud. Anything that you buy or expand your business with is money laundering.
Yep. Yeah.
Or those down in the Cayman Islands listening to this.
Right. Well, I didn't even know what any of that meant. I'm like, I just have a medical business where I'm helping people all day long. I work 7 days a week. Like, what are you talking about? Like, what? And I remember I told my criminal lawyer, I'm like, it sounds so silly, but I meant it. And at the time, because I was not comprehending what was happening, I was like, well, I mean, I could spend like one night in prison, but like, I can't like go to prison. What are you? I'd be killed for one thing. I am not a prison. Like what? And my lawyer did not think it was funny. They were very. I mean, I wasn't trying to be funny, but I'm just like, like what? And my lawyer's like, no, this is very serious. So be very prepared that you will be going to prison because they don't have these kind of charges without you going to federal prison. Because I was like, jail. I was like, oh, I could do jail. And she was like, no, it's prison.
How long does all this last, Saffron, with you finally getting with your attorney, them telling you what these charges are, you're seeing, and the other thing that I think people might or might not know is, one count of mail fraud could be 10 to 20 years.
Yeah.
They can stack those and those become over hundreds of years. So what was the time frame of you getting with your criminal attorney, him telling you you've got 13 of these charges? How long does this last to the point where you are put in a firing line of having to make a decision of a plea bargain?
Yep. So it was roughly probably about 2 to 2.5 years that
And what do you do in that time frame because your businesses have been disabled?
Yep. So
how do you survive?
My criminal lawyer was like in the beginning told me my businesses and the life that I knew were done with right then. Bye. You can't go back. Go empty out your stores. Go figure it out. And I'm like, what? And then they told me so you'll probably want to get a job for your mental health because you're going to lose your mind. And but I advise you not to do anything um, that you're going to take too seriously because you could be arrested at any time. So they were like, don't do anything that you'll be traveling, because they knew my background was like medical sales. They're like, you don't have any official charges, so you could still do that. But I wouldn't do anything where you're traveling, and I wouldn't do anything that you would be really upset if they walked in and arrested you, because they could do that literally at any time. And if you are traveling, they will look at that as a red flag and they'll probably arrest you. And you don't want that. So I'm like, I was like, what the heck? So all I knew was my business, right? And then you're telling me I can't like even do what I did straight out of college. Like what the heck, right? So I did end up. I found a medical company. I did medical sales, but it was local. So I didn't
Okay.
travel. I stayed within very very local. I didn't even travel within Oregon. It was a local um, position.
Well, and I meant to ask you when they let you know what these charges were, did they immediately serve you an indictment, or were they saying that they were just going to continue to investigate and they could come up with
Yep,
more? And so
yep. They didn't
then
serve
they
me with anything. They said they gave me a copy of the warrant, but it didn't. To me, it didn't show anything like why. I still had no idea why they were
so they
doing
just continued to investigate,
it.
because sometimes what they do is they'll indict somebody and then they'll do a superseding indictment because they continue to investigate. But in your case, they just said, "Hey, we think you're cooked
Yep,
and we're not, your businesses are cooked, but in the meantime we're going to let you live in limbo purgatory
it's
while."
purgatory. It's purgatory here on Earth. It literally,
Right.
and I know you know this.
Hmm.
You know the feeling. I've never experienced anything quite like it, and I don't know the words to explain it. I try to explain it, but it does not. It doesn't give it doesn't give the feelings that you feel justice. There
Right.
are not human words that I know to describe the actual feeling of being in purgatory. Literally, you are waiting. You know that so this is, I explain this in my writings. Is um, I knew that I was being hunted, and I knew I was going to get shot. I
Hmm.
just didn't know when.
Hmm.
And so that
It's a good
feeling,
analogy.
yep, that feeling of I'm being hunted every day, and at any given time they're going to start shooting at me, but I don't know when that's going to be.
Did you
And
ever have a sit down conversation with the people that were investigating you?
yes, eventually I did.
Okay.
And it was when so
But
they
surprisingly, a lot of people don't.
well, I didn't want to. If I were to have gotten that 30 plus year sentence, I was 40 when this happened. So I would be dead because you don't live that long in prison. I do know that. and
Okay.
so I'm like, why would I want to meet these people? Well, so they came to me with a plea deal, and I didn't want to do a plea deal. I said, that is the most ridiculous thing. I did not do anything wrong. I will fight this. And so my lawyer said, of course, they would back me in whatever I wanted to do. However, they highly, highly, highly suggested, with their experience, as this is what they do, that I take the plea deal. Because if I were to fight it, now I'm going to piss them off more. And chances are, I mean, they were like, nobody wins ever, ever. I mean, 99.99% of the time, you're going to lose, even if
Mhm.
you think you're the most innocent person in the world. They're coming after you. You are going to lose. It's their game, and they have the rules, and it goes by their rules, and they're going to
Mhm.
win. So my lawyer was like, you have to take a plea deal, because I'm telling you, if you don't, it's going to be real bad. You think this is bad, it's going to be real bad, because now you've pissed them off. If you take the plea deal, you make them happy, they're willing to work, we'll be able to negotiate.
Mhm.
You fight them on it, there's no negotiation, and they're going to go for the highest. Like you were saying, one thing could be 2 years or it could be 50 years, right? Well, they're going to go for the 50 years if I fight it on each thing.
Right.
And
Right.
so I wasn't aware that that's how that works either. So I was like, okay, fine. I guess I will take your advice, even though I do not agree with this. And I felt like I was being a criminal by literally lying, saying I agree to this plea deal because I did not. I did
Mhm.
not agree to this at all. And I was forced to do it. And they also said, prosecution said that they were going to come after family and even friends if I didn't sign this. Like they were adamant about it. And and they were going to come after me with more charges and conspiracy that was just going to tack on so many years. And I just, you know, you're playing Russian roulette and you're pretty certain that the bullet's going to discharge.
Yeah.
So you got to go with it. And it was sickening. And I absolutely uh, it was the worst horrible thing ever to have to sign that because it was a
Mhm.
complete lie. And anyways, but I signed it because out of two horrible situations, that was the best situation out of the two
Well, and I
horrible
mean,
ones.
you'd already experienced your parents' house getting raided, so
Yep.
you
Yeah.
you were well
And I
aware
and
of
I
what.
couldn't imagine them doing this to more family, coming
Yeah,
out even after my parents for something, coming after friends that had nothing to do with the business, but they told me. They told me even who they would go after. And I was sickened by this. I'm like, how is this legal? This is organized crime. Like this is like flat out mafia stuff that you see in the movies, but this was real in real life. It was actually really happening to me, and it was insane.
it was a lot to
So
deal. It's a lot to deal with. So you
yeah.
signed that.
Hmm.
Do you have in there a cap of what you know you're dealing with for prison time?
So they had like worst case scenario and best case scenario.
Mhm.
And so get this. I know you won't be surprised. So in the plea deal, they were not going to fight for the highest amount of time if I were to meet with them. And they were investigating my colleagues in the
Other
industry. They were
people.
investigating other DME locations that I knew. And and they wanted me to talk about what I knew about those people and about their business practices.
Mhm.
And I told my lawyer, well, I don't know anything. I really didn't. I mean, I know them, and I personally know them, and I know what they do for business, but I don't know their bookkeeping. I don't know anything. As far as I know, they'd be in the same situation that I am. That they, as far as they know, they're doing everything right. I don't have anything to tell them other than I know them, and I can
Right.
explain what their business is maybe in more detail. And my lawyer said, we're not going to tell them that. We're just going to say we're agreeing because if you agree, they're not saying you have to have proof. They're just saying you have to tell the truth because if you don't, that will be more felony charges on you. So you have to tell the truth on what they ask you about these people. But if you cooperate, they are not saying how much they're going to lower what they're asking for, but they're going to lower it. So I highly advise you doing this. And I'm like, this just gets worse and worse and worse. So,
Everything gets worse and worse.
oh, you're
Yeah.
just like, you can't make this stuff up. You in your worst nightmare, you wouldn't think of this because in a nightmare, you have to actually have a concept of something like this happening. And this was just like, I would
Right.
have never have like, what are you talking about? My gosh. So I have to meet with the people that are wanting to destroy me. I have
Mhm.
to meet with them in person. This wasn't over Zoom. This was in
Mhm.
person. And oh, to breathe the same air, it was sickening. This is the worst of the worst. And so they had like this is like out of a movie. They literally had surveillance photos of these people that I knew with other DME locations, and they wanted me to identify who they were, if I knew who they were, and what name I knew them to go by. Like crazy. And then some of them I knew, some of them I did. I'm like, I don't know who that is. I can't give you a name because I literally don't. I've never seen that person before in my life. But some of them I did know, and I could tell them the name I knew them by. I mean, but I don't. I didn't have any other information. They kept asking me, pressing me on their business practices and what I knew, and I could tell them what I knew, but it wasn't anything incriminating by any means. So I don't think they were real happy with that meeting, but I did I definitely
You did it.
participated,
Yeah.
and I wasn't lying on any of it.
Mhm.
So they did at that time have another meeting. I don't know, like a month later or something, with my lawyer, and they came up with a lower, much lower um, time that they wanted me to go to prison for, and a lot of the charges were dropped because they didn't have proof on it. Um, and there were two charges that were in the plea agreement that I had, that I know they didn't have proof on either. But once you sign that plea agreement, you're saying that you agree to those
Mhm.
charges, and I did not agree to it, and I knew they didn't have proof on it, because they couldn't ever show the proof on it, because my lawyer
Mhm.
would ask, "Well, show us the proof." Well, but they were going to get me anyways, so I had to agree to that plea deal. So I knew, so they dropped it down to just the two charges that they had in the plea agreement, and they were asking for the minimum. They did follow through with their commitment on that, for me meeting with them, even though I wasn't able to give them the information that they wanted.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you're just sick people to wake up in the morning and be like, hey, this is a great day. I'm going to go try to destroy someone's life. Here we go. And that's literally what they do. And I'm like, wow, I get up in the morning and I'm like, how can I help somebody today?
Right. So
So
what's the amount of time that you eventually get?
So they were asking for a minimum of 3 years. There was a maximum, but honestly, I have avoided that out of my mind. I don't remember, but there was a maximum. But they were asking for the minimum of 3 years. The charges were medical fraud and tax evasion,
Okay.
which just in my mind are completely made up. I don't even know. I still don't know how they came up with, literally, I still don't know how they came up with those. Like, I've never seen anything that would be like, oh, yes, that is tax evasion. Oh, yes, that's medical fraud. But whatever. So it doesn't matter because I signed the plea agreement. They don't have
Right.
to come up with anything.
Mhm.
So my lawyer was, adamant that we're going to, try to fight for even less than the minimum because, I did all these things, blah, blah, blah. So we did. I had to go in front of a judge. It was very scary. The courtroom was very much like the courtroom out of A Few Good Men. It really was. It looked like that. And I made some jokes about that to my lawyer. There again, they didn't think it was funny. But I'm like, you have to find humor in this absolutely insane,
Either laugh or
condition.
cry.
Yeah. And anyways, so the prosecution, I was advised not to say anything, and I only say yes or no to the judge unless they ask me to elaborate, but don't elaborate too much. Don't show emotion. That the prosecution was going to say a lot of horrible things about me, and I have to just sit there blank faced, which was very hard for me to do because I'm not that type of person.
Yeah.
So they did. The prosecution said a lot of really horrible things about me, and that I was this, criminal mind, criminal mastermind, ringleader. Like, I don't even know. I'm like, you guys just throw these words in. You don't even. What does that even mean? So, anyways, the judge ended up. I was hopeful that the judge would say, and I knew this wasn't going to be the case, but I was like hoping, because legally they could have said, you've basically been in purgatory for at this time 3 years. I was just in purgatory, not knowing what was ever going to happen to
Right.
me.
The unknown. Right.
Yeah, and my whole business, my whole life got destroyed. I was starting from scratch. I was in medical cells again. I was successful. I was looking to start another business in that. If I didn't have criminal charges, um, then I could do that. And so I had a whole plan on that, and that was written to the judge. Like I was still going to be a really um, proactive, person in the community. If you do not charge me on these, and you do not send me to federal prison, I will be a good person in the world and the community. And the judge, I mean, obviously didn't care. It's a whole game. I didn't know that at the time. I do know that now. And so, but the judge actually sentenced me to less than the minimum. So they did see that some of it was probably not
Hmm.
not 100%. And I ended up getting sentenced to 22 months
Okay.
out of the minimum. It was a minimum of 3, but the judge ruled for 22 months. And in federal prison, and that just literally knocked the wind out of me. I knew, deep down, I knew that I was going to go to prison, but I was hopeful that the
Hmm.
judge would see that would just be silly and absolutely would not help anyone in the world, especially since I already had another business plan to help people and all this. And I would not be able to do that business. I could not go into that type of medical field if I had these charges,
Hmm.
felonies. And so, but they don't care. That's not how they get paid. They get paid by making sure that you're charged. So, um, anyways, I got sentenced to 22 months. I was told by my lawyer after the fact that I could get 18 months if I didn't get in trouble, or was not guaranteed, but that I could possibly serve 18 out of the 22, but be prepared for 22. And so in my mind, that's basically 2 years. I could not comprehend. I just went numb.
Hmm.
I don't even know what a prison is. I mean, I
How much?
do. I don't
How
mean to
much
sound like,
time? How much time, Saffron, did you have from
yeah.
the
So
time that you found that out to that you had to be at Dublin?
they said within a month,
Okay.
they would be sending me information
So,
of where to report to. I didn't know. They could have sent me
right.
to any place in the United States. I had no idea where I was going. Um, they didn't have any of that figured out. So,
Mhm.
and then the letter never came. But it would have been another federal charge if I didn't show up on time. So my lawyer had to end up actually contacting the judge and be like, prosecution never ever sent this information.
Wow.
Saffron only has a few days. She's not wanting to be in violation. So where is she
Right.
supposed to report to?
That's
You know,
incredible.
so I ended up getting officially through my lawyer. I never got the letter, but through my lawyer saying that they were going to send me to Dublin. He gave me the information, and I had to go check myself in, which was just an absolute
Well, tell me, because
horrible.
there's a lot of stories about Dublin.
Yeah.
Did you know stories about Dublin before you went?
I had no idea. I knew nothing. I didn't know anything about any prison anywhere.
Hmm.
I was like, I have no idea. I just knew it was in California, and it wasn't too far away from San Francisco. So I'm like, well, that was my home, So one of my homes, that can't be too bad. I love San Francisco, trying
Yeah.
to be positive. So I show up to check myself in, and this was right when COVID had, I think it was in 2020, and I think like at the end of March or something, don't quote me on this, 2020, or COVID was announced a pandemic. um this would have been in October. So not too but
After they shut everything down in 2020,
mhm,
so you
yeah.
went in October, when I think March 17th is when they shut all the airports and everything down. So you went in October of 2020.
Yep, to
Okay.
the federal prison in Dublin. And they immediately put me in solitary confinement.
Because
I was
of COVID.
I was
That was
supposed to,
the reason.
yeah, I was supposed to go to what's called a camp
Hmm.
for low violent offenders. Basically, I learned after the fact, I didn't know it at the time, but camp typically houses drug offenders and paper crime. I was considered a paper crime.
Hmm.
Typically, I mean, they do see others, but that's typically who you're going to find in a camp. And my lawyer actually was like, oh, it's not going to be that bad. There's
Really?
yoga.
Wow.
Yeah, there's libraries. I mean, you get, it will be a time of reflection. I remember that being said. Like, you'll be able to work out and just kind
Mhm.
of reflect on things, and it won't be that bad. I was literally
Mhm.
told that. Now, I knew it wasn't going to be that good, but I had a false reality of what I was going to be stepping into.
Right.
Right?
Right.
So I step into Dublin. It is a former military prison. This
Mhm.
was no swimming pool and yoga. This was hardcore federal prison. This is what you see on TV. It was a third world looking place. It had brown water that came out of the sinks. It had literally shit flies coming out of the sinks and showers because the sewer line was not taken care of, and it smelled like shit. And it was just very unkept, very dirty, very much like if what you would think when you see there's a show, and I don't know the exact name, but it's like, Prison Abroad or something, like
Mhm.
where people travel
Yeah.
and they get thrown into some pit basically in some unknown country. That's what I felt like I was getting thrown into, and I'm not even joking. That's what it looked like, and that's what it smelled like. And I'm like, where am I? I'm like, this is a mistake. They
What
told
were
me this
your
is,
what were your like first few days like? Because how long were you in solitary?
well, so they didn't tell me that they were going to put me in solitary. They just put me in there. And I thought, oh, okay. In my mind, I'm thinking, they're just, they're checking me in. They have to put me in here. They're going to take me out probably within the next day or a few hours, or, like,
Mhm.
no one would tell me anything. They just literally put me in there and slammed the door. Like,
That's
not
one
joking.
of the things that you learn really quickly immediately as you're processed is you're not told anything.
No, mm-mm.
Nothing.
You're not
And
human.
no, so
So
you
why
can't.
would you be told anything?
Right.
Yeah.
And they do mostly put people in solitary to kind of as they're processing them
Mm-hmm.
through.
Mm-hmm.
Some people are only in there for a few hours, but it's more for shock therapy. Is like, wonder how long I could be here.
Yep.
Maybe this is where I'm going to be, and there's
Well,
nothing
and
you can do about it.
no, and literally, and so that's I thought in the big like first couple hours, I'm like, well, they're gonna come and get me. They just put me in here because they're processing stuff. I'm being trying to be super positive, like,
Yeah.
wow, I'm in a prison, okay, and and so a couple days go by, but no one's telling me anything, right? And I suffer from complex migraines, and you can get stroke like symptoms and stuff if it's not taken care of right away. And that started happening to me. And so I tried to get one of the guards' attention. Long story super shortened, it took them like something like 36 or 38 hours to get me some medical strength ibuprofen. I thought
Mhm.
I was going to die. They didn't care. And so I found out really quickly that there's no medical care here. I mean,
Mhm.
once you've experienced the prison, I mean, you know that you're like, duh. But I didn't know that. I didn't know anything about prison. So they don't care about you. They don't treat you like a human. You definitely don't get medical care at all. And nobody would tell me why I was locked up. Eventually, I was told. So it was the camp I was at is a working camp. And so one of the campers, so one of the inmates, their job was to go around people in the solitary confinement, and take their trash, or give them toothpaste or something or whatever.
Mhm.
I don't know. And so they weren't allowed to talk to us. But I asked very quickly, I'm not supposed to be here. I'm locked up. I'm supposed to be in a camp. I mean, I don't know anything, right? And she's like, oh, I'm from the camp, and you're in here, I think, because of COVID. And she's like, oh, there's something on your door here, and it looks like maybe in a couple weeks, something like that. And she was like, but
Mhm.
I'm not sure, and I'm like, okay. So that gave me a little bit, like, because I just didn't even know. I was like, am I in the wrong place? Am I, because
Mhm.
I'm in a prison, this isn't camp, and now I'm in solitary confinement, no one's telling me anything. I'm like, I'm not supposed to be locked up. I was told like it's something completely different. And so she's like, you'll if you are going to be going into camp, then I'll see you when you get out of here. And I was like, okay. And then but I didn't even know what that meant. Anyways, they ended up, without telling me anything, they ended up keeping me in solitary confinement for over 3 weeks. And
Mm. Wow. What an
and that
entrance.
was the first experience. That it wasn't like I went to camp and then they put me in there. I
Mhm.
I was I have never experienced something like that, and I don't think people understand. It's you're being thrown in a dirty, disgusting closet,
Mhm.
basically, and was not talked to. And I'm somebody that just talks, and so for me, literally, not to talk to anybody, not to see anybody except for guards that were yelling profanities most of the time to us. Um, Besides that, just to be locked up, and we didn't get showers. We got showers, I think it was like once a week or something.
Mhm.
And then the whole time it was only 10 minutes. It was cold water. They didn't provide soap or shampoo or anything. And they were yelling at us the whole time to fucking get out and blah, blah, blah. And it was really, really horrible. And
Mhm.
so I have never experienced something like that where I was literally thrown in a closet for 3 weeks. I mean, for most people, 3 hours would be hard, right? But 3 weeks, nothing.
It's a long time.
And it would be something, it would be different like if I was told that, because mentally you can prepare for anything.
Yeah.
And if I knew it was 3 weeks, that would be
You had
hard.
no idea,
But yeah,
right?
I could mentally be like, no, okay, it's 3 weeks, I can get through this. And so I made myself a calendar. They did give us like these bendable pencils, because I
Mhm.
guess you could hurt yourself with like a real pencil and
Yeah.
like a piece of paper. And so I just made like I knew when I checked in what day it was. And so from that I just made a calendar and I mark it off every day,
Mhm.
because I had no access to a watch. I had no access to a clock. There was nothing. So, and then the whole time, people are, screaming and crying,
Mhm.
and
Sounds
and
horrible.
yeah, no, it was hell. And then guards walking around, and as you know, all you hear are those big clunky chains.
Mhm.
And I'm just like, oh my god, where am I? And how
Yeah,
am
those
I going to
those
survive?
clunky chains, that sound can give you a little bit of PTSD when you get
Oh,
out, hearing somebody
I
walk around with chains.
I can't. And even like dogs barking, I just can't
Yeah.
take it, because the guards, they barked at us basically. I mean, I associate that. And it was like dogs barking, like wild, crazy, mad dogs barking at us all the time, and the chains just clinking and clinking like all the 24/7.
So, Saffron, after 3 weeks, they open the door, you get out. What
Yeah.
happens? Like, how do you assimilate into
Yeah.
what goes
I
on?
Oh,
Okay.
I am like just I can't even I oh, so I was also told that so I was never handcuffed. I never was arrested. Even though I was told I could be at any time, but I had never been handcuffed. I had in my life, and
Mhm.
I had never been arrested. And
Mhm.
so they take, and I was told that I wouldn't be, because now I'm in prison. So why would you be handcuffed?
Right. Right.
And so they take me out of the solitary confinement, and I am just like, I can't even, because now it's noisy and people are talking and there's bright lights, and I'm just like, I've been in a closet for 3 weeks, right? So I'm just
Yeah.
mentally not even, and I'm being yelled at by different guards and just crazy, right? I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't even know how to respond. And I haven't
Wow.
taken a shower, and I'm just like gross and I'm itchy and just like, bleh. And so they take the people they were taking out on that particular day, they had us like get in a line. And right away, that's when I seen other people. And I'm like, and this is no judgment at all, but I was like scared, because I'm like, these women here are clearly here for other reasons than what I'm here for. Wow, what am I going to do? I'm going to be killed. Like, this is not where I'm supposed to be. And my assumptions were right. Nobody there was from camp. It was from the main
You had
prison,
that
and
right.
right. But I didn't know that, right?
Yeah.
And so they put us in a line, and then they handcuff us, all of us. And I was freaking out. I've never been handcuffed, and it wasn't like a polite handcuff. It was super tight, and my circulation was starting to get cut off right away. It hurt. Your hands are behind your back. Like, I'm like, what in the world is going on? And so they shuffle us out, and they took us to the main prison to check us in, because most of them were going to the main prison. And but then when I got checked in, then they knew I was going to camp. But the whole experience was like super scary. And so I get to camp, and that was just like, I'm like, oh, I'm in a prison. This is wow, okay. And when I showed up, a lot of the women weren't there because it's a working camp. So a lot of them were gone. It was kind of in the middle of the day. And so there was a moment there that, oh, they showed me like where my cell was at. And I didn't have a bunkie or a roommate at that time. They were going to be having one come in, but at that time there wasn't. So I just remember I sat there and the cell door was open, and I was just like, just in shock. One, I was grateful that I wasn't locked up in solitary, but
Mhm.
also it was a new reality to, even though there weren't a lot of women there because most of them were working in the working camp, some of them were there, right? And I'm like, I'm actually, that was the first time that I was like, I'm actually around other inmates. I'm in a real
You're in
effing
a prison.
federal prison.
Yeah. After all this time, here I am.
Yeah, and I'm literally here with other federal prisoner. Like,
Mhm.
it was just mind blowing to me, and it was just a reality shock, because up to that point I was just by myself, which is torture
Mhm.
in itself with that. But
Yeah.
now I'm like, oh my god, now I'm here with like actual, and you don't know. I didn't know. Are these people nice? Are they mean? Are they going to kill me? I mean, I don't know,
Yeah.
right?
You don't.
So that was just sitting there and waiting it, but not knowing what you're waiting for.
Yeah.
And I it was, yeah.
3 weeks of the fear of the unknown, um, and they let you out, and there you are. And I think there is a thing that happens. It's a reality shock that I've fought through all this whole time, and here I am. I'm
Yeah.
in this place, and I'm going to be here for a while,
Yeah.
not just for a week.
No.
And it does really set in like that. So how do you end up moving, Saffron, through this prison? Because there's a lot of stories about Dublin.
Yeah.
I think the warden went to prison. I
Yep.
Possibly a chaplain went to
Yep.
prison, and it all had to do with abuse on women.
Yes. So I right away, when I was even in solitary confinement, I was like, wow, okay, the
And by the way,
majority,
this place is shut down now.
yeah, completely shut
Yeah.
down due to the abuse. I
Right.
mean, so it was that bad. It's not me just saying it was bad. It was
No,
that bad.
there's been a variety of stories,
Hmm.
all of them being bad. And if I remember, that it was like 70 months or something that the warden got. So
Yeah.
it was significant.
Yes.
Significant.
So the chaplain, the warden, multiple guards. Some of the guards, when they were being investigated, actually committed suicide, which would never wish that
Yeah,
on anybody, but that they knew that it was coming down on
it was
them.
coming down. Right.
They were horrible, absolutely horrible to us, very, very, very abusive, and in every way. So they were mentally abusive, verbally abusive. But what got them in big trouble is they were sexually abusive.
Did
And
you did you see or know any of that when that was happening?
I did. And so I made a few really good friends there. Not a lot, but I did. I was friendly with everyone. Everyone
Yeah.
there. I'm very glad I came across actually everybody there.
Yeah.
But I actually made friends with two in particular that I will be lifelong friends with. I talk to them
Mhm.
almost daily still,
Mhm.
and I probably always will. They're really wonderful people, and they helped save me there, literally. But
Yeah.
one, they both were definitely sexually abused. One of them was there for much longer, and it was caught on video.
Mm.
And so she actually, because there was undeniable proof, she was part of, there's a huge, huge, huge lawsuit. I think something like, there again, don't quote me on this, but something like 116 million. The
Mhm.
Bureau of Prisons, the BOP, had to pay out,
Biggest
in
payout
addition
ever.
to,
Right.
yeah, in addition to actually permanently closing down the prison. Um, and so one of those two really good friends of mine was involved in that, because she was highly sexually abused, And a lot of it was caught actually on video, and a lot of it wasn't, but enough was caught on video, often enough that when they came down on the prison to shut it down and to get the appropriate people in trouble, there was definitely proof of that on video. And my other friend was definitely sexually abused, and they called it training, but it was really bad, and that was not caught on video. And I told her she should have still reported that, but she didn't want to. She just
Mhm.
wants to be done with it, and I respect and understand that too.
Yeah.
But it happened to a lot of women. Those two were just ones that I personally, they were friends of mine and really helped me out in there, and I'm still very good friends with them. Um, but even a situation with me, I wasn't there that long, but there were enough situations where I could tell I was not sexually abused. I'll right out. No.
Mhm.
But I could tell that the things that were said and done to me, that it would not take too long for that. They were conditioning you. It would not take too long for that to start happening. This was the
Mhm.
culture at that particular prison. And I think that that's the culture probably in most prisons that house women. Most of the guards were men, and they were highly abusive towards the women, and thought that they could get away with it, and they did for a very, very long time.
Mhm.
So yeah, it was even for not physically sexually being abused, there was verbiage said daily, and innuendos daily, and things that made you feel extremely unsafe and extremely violated. Here you're in a situation that you cannot get out of.
Right.
um, you're a prisoner, literally,
Right.
and you have no voice. You cannot say anything to anybody, and if you did, there'd be retaliation on you, and you are being harassed and abused in many different ways all day long. And what I tell people, it's not, and you know this, it's not like, okay, you can be like, okay, that's really horrible, right? But it's not like you can check in and check out. It's not like from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. every day I'm highly abused, and but then I get a break, right? No, it's 24/7 forever.
Yeah.
And that is something that I don't think people can comprehend. It's not even like an abusive relationship where, you're obviously not around that person 24/7. This is, you are around the abuser, multiple abusers 24/7, and you cannot get away from them. And it's
Mhm.
very scary. And
Sounds awful. Sounds
yeah,
like
it's horrible.
a complete, absolute nightmare. Um, as you were nearing towards the end of everything, Saffron, I'm assuming that you pretty much assimilated and got a job and probably worked out and read and did all those different things. But as time got closer to you knowing you were getting out, what did you start thinking about? Because I know that's always kind of a weird time that you're like, I've almost kind of gotten strangely used to this routine, but
Yep.
I also know that I've got to move into society again. What were your thoughts?
Absolutely. So, my situation is a little bit different because of COVID. Um,
Mhm.
so there was huge COVID outbreaks where people were, because you're confined, right?
Mhm.
So one person gets it,
And you guys weren't bringing it in. It had to be coming in from
yeah,
the CEOs and
from the
whatever. Right.
guards and stuff, yeah.
Right. Right.
And so a lot of women were being sent to the hospital and having severe conditions because they already had like preconditioned asthma
Pre-existing.
and
Right.
stuff, and yeah. And so I never got COVID, thank goodness. But a lot of the women did. And so because of that, it was a huge health violation. And so they were the women that did not have very much time to serve, and were like zero recidivism, which I was, of course. You know, they were taking those women, a lot of them, not all, but a lot of them, and having them just go into a halfway house
Okay.
or some other prison that didn't have as many women in it,
Okay.
you know, due to COVID, all due to COVID. And so I I still had a number of months left, so I wasn't thinking about that. And I literally just got called into an office and said, within the next week, you won't have notice. Your name will just be called over the overcom, and be ready to pack up your stuff and go within 10 minutes because we're sending you to a halfway house due to that.
Hmm.
And so I was in shock. I was not prepared for that.
How long had
Um,
you been in at that time?
7 months.
Okay.
And so it was a working camp. So I was like doing 3 different jobs. I was doing everything just to take my mind off of where I was at. I was trying to help a lot of the women also write legal letters and stuff to fight for. A lot of them didn't, English wasn't their first language. And so
Hmm.
I helped a lot of them. I was writing legal stuff that they could send in to help with their um, with their sentencing and that sort of thing. Um, and so I was pretty busy, and I had friends in there, and I accepted that, hey, this is just my life right now. And I had, like you were saying, I had a routine,
Yeah.
and I was really happy that I was able to help, play a part in helping a lot of the women. I worked in their education department, and did a lot of that, and
Hmm.
helping to tutor and stuff like that. And so I did not
You're
like being
staying
there.
busy.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
hated being there. But for having to be there, I made it as pleasant as I could, and still, I felt good about what I was doing. So I'm like, maybe I can make somewhat of a positive difference while I'm here. I don't know that I
Right.
did, but I was like, okay, I'm
Yeah.
trying, right? So when I got called in for that, I had torn feelings. Yes, I wanted to get the heck out of there, right?
Hmm.
Um, but I'm like, but I feel obligated because in my mind I was going to be helping. I was continuing to help a lot, so it kind of got word around that I could write,
Yeah.
and that I was educated, and that I
Yeah.
could help write these legal letters.
Mixing
And
it up
so
and move in prison if you're helping people.
yeah, yeah. So there was like a waiting list for me to help with these letters. So
Yeah, I'm sure.
so I felt a little like kind of guilty because I was like, I want out of here. Don't get me wrong, but I also want to help people that I've already committed. Gave them my word I would help them. They know it's not my fault if they remove me, but I just kind of felt a little like, I didn't feel good about that. But I was also like, okay, I'm ready to get out of here. So I was concerned about going to a halfway house, though.
Yeah.
I had heard, oh, in my previous life, I would just like, I had no idea what prison was like. I didn't even know what a halfway house meant. But I was told by everyone, okay, well, it's usually like if you're a drug user or and nothing against that, but they monitor you and make sure that you can go back into society. And I understood all that, but I'm like, that doesn't pertain to me 1 ounce, not even kind of. Like, you've got to be kidding me, right? I do not want to go there. I'd rather stay here. And so I talked with the camp manager about that, and I said, I'll sign anything. I'm fine with COVID being here. I haven't gotten it yet. I don't think I will. And if I do, I'll sign something to say, like, that's my fault. I really want to continue helping these women. And I do not want to go to a halfway house if that's my 2 options. And she said it wasn't my choice, and that I wouldn't be going to a halfway house to stay there, that I'd be going to home confinement, but I had to check in at a halfway house. That they would do a check in. I might stay one. I know. I might stay one night, maybe,
Mhm.
but probably not. They were just going to give me like a ankle monitor or some kind of monitoring device,
Yeah. Just
and I
check
was going.
in. Just check
Yes,
in.
exactly, exactly. And I was going home.
Right.
So that made me not fight it, right? Because then I was like,
Right.
whoa, oh, I thought when you said halfway house, like I was going to have to stay at a halfway house, and I'd rather stay here because I explained, I got my routine. I want to help these
Yeah.
women, like, no,
Yeah.
no, 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 no. You're going to be going home. You just have to check in. Oh, okay. Well, I'm down for that. I knew within a week. It could be at any time. but I knew within a week, I was going to be getting called over the overcom, and they still were doing the COVID quarantine, so they already told me I'd be back in solitary confinement for a minimum of 2 weeks,
Gosh,
which was just
Saffron.
stupid, right? And I knew that was hell. But I'm like, hey, if that gets me out, I've already done it.
Right.
Well, I can
Right.
survive
You
it,
know
right?
it. You
Yeah,
know it. The other,
yeah.
when you first did it, you didn't know anything.
I,
Right.
and it was really scary.
Right.
And it was like horrible because like I knew the torture I was going to be going into, but I was like, I can do it, and I'm going home. I can see my cats. I
Yeah.
missed my cats, I missed my friends, and I missed, it sounds so silly. I missed like a real blanket. I missed a real pillow. I missed
Mhm.
texture because there's no
Mhm.
texture.
The
Everything's
little
hard.
things. Right.
Yeah. So I was like dreaming of a fuzzy blanket and my cats. I was just like,
Sounds great.
I just want to go home. I'll do the solitary confinement for 2 weeks if that means that's where I get to go.
Yeah.
So I started giving away all my stuff that I had. I had tuna fish in a pouch, and I had like spam in a pouch that you could keep in your locker from
Right.
commissary. I had diet soda, and I had like a cup, which was prized because there were not cups there. And
Right.
I had a cup that I acquired. And it was funny because it had brass knuckles and diamonds on it, which is a reference to
Nice.
drugs. Yeah.
Very nice.
And that was my cup. And
Yeah.
it was, there's a whole story behind that, but that was funny. That was my cup because I couldn't have
Yeah.
been
It's a shot collar
further
cup.
from that. Yeah. So I started giving out all my prized cup and the food that I had that you could store in a locker and stuff like that because I figured that it's all going to get thrown away. If they call me, they're just going to go through my stuff and throw it all out. So I wanted to make sure that people I knew that could use it got it. And within a handful of days, I got called over the overcom, and just like they said, I had 10 minutes to gather all my stuff, and so I did. And then I went into solitary confinement again. But I was at this time they did, which made no sense for it being COVID. They at this time they had you room with a bunkie.
Okay.
So even though it was supposed to be solitary confinement because of COVID, but then they had you with somebody else. So that doesn't make sense. But they didn't do it for safety. They did it because they got paid extra to have a quarantine unit for COVID. So so the more people they could stick in a cell, the more money they could make. So I thought I would be getting put in with a fellow camp person, but I wasn't. I was put in with somebody from the main prison, and wow, that was a shocker. We ended up becoming friends because how can you not if you spend 2 weeks
Right.
in a closet with somebody, right?
Right.
But that was an experience for sure. And then um, so they gave me a plane ticket, and I got on a flight in my prison grays and no
Always a good
makeup.
look.
Yeah. Oh, it's awesome, right? I had my shower flip flops. I had my prison grays, and then I had a clear trash bag. And no makeup or anything like that. And that was my attire going into the San Francisco International Airport, SFO, an airport that I had flown out of many, many times, but looked quite a bit different. And I was just like, oh wow, this is for the storybooks. Wow, I can't even believe this,
Right.
right? So, but I was excited to go home. So I get on the flight, and I thought because I was told they're going to know that you're a federal prisoner, and I thought, oh, there might be some issues, and so I was really scared about that. There was no issues, and I'm sure they knew, but nobody treated me any differently. The flight attendant was just as nice as
It's nice.
anyone. No one said anything. Nothing. I wasn't like I didn't
Yeah.
have to sit in a special seat. Like it was
Right.
normal,
Here's the
right?
federal prisoner seat right here in the
Yeah,
back.
yeah.
Bulge
Yeah, big
down.
flashing lights. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nope. So I looked odd, but but whatever. So so I end up, long story short, I end up getting to the reentry place, and and I'm excited because I'm like, I'm just checking in, and
Can't wait to get home.
I let my parents know, and I'm like, they can come pick me up because they didn't live that far away. I mean, they live like 2 hours away from the reentry place, and I'm like, either my parents or one of my friends, they can come pick me up today. This is
Right.
like, I'm going home. And so I go to check in, and I tell them that because I'm excited because that's what I've been told. And they're looking at me very confused, and they're not nice, of course. It's just another prison.
Right.
And they're going through my paperwork, and they're like, yeah, no, you're going to be here with us for a while. And I'm like, oh, no, no. My camp manager, like, and I'm super like, oh, no, oh, no, you got it wrong. I got it right. And they're just like, no, you're checking in, but you're staying here. And I'm like, but I don't, and I literally was like, but I don't do drugs or anything. I wasn't sentenced by the judge to go to a halfway house. I was so sentenced to go out to home confinement. And if that were to happen, I was sentenced to home confinement. And they're like, yeah, no, that's not it. So I was like, well, this is all wrong, and I'm just going to call my lawyer in the morning. And I did. And there again, more things. How would you know? But the federal, this, but the federal government, they have the right. They can, as long as they put you on federal land, they can put you anywhere. So even if it was judged that you go in home confinement, if you still have a sentence to serve out, they don't have to put. They can if they want to be nice, but they don't.
Right.
So they just have to have you on federal land, and so federal reentry place is federal land,
Just
regardless
fine.
if I should have been there or not. It didn't matter.
Hmm.
And the scary thing is, I found out real quick, real quick, that there again, don't quote me on the exact number, but out of like 300 people that were at this reentry place, only 10. Now that is right. The 10 part is only 10, including myself, were women. So
Mm.
these are all, I was put into a reentry place, which I ended up calling the crack house because everybody was on some kind of drug. I shouldn't say everyone, but majority.
Hmm.
And the majority, with only 10 out of the 300 being women, the majority of people there were men straight out of federal prison. And these were not people from camp. Some were,
Hmm.
but
Right.
we're
Halfway
talking,
house has all custody
mhm,
levels. Right.
yep, literally.
But usually
So,
it doesn't have men and women, which when you told me that, I was
mhm.
really shocked about that.
And it was very shocking because, and it's like, what do you expect? So here we are, females, right, in a place with federal prison men that have not been around women for
A
years,
while. Right.
a long time. And some of them were in there for rape. Some of them were pedophiles, a lot actually. And so when they seen us, I mean, you're talk about being, prey to a predator. And and okay, so they didn't come and physically attack us, right? But we were looked at that way. We were talked to that way. That energy around that, there again, yes, I escaped in a highly abusive prison that got shut down due to the abuse, but they
Hmm.
just put me in another prison that was more abusive. And
How long were you
yeah,
in there, Saffron? I don't
8
remember the
months.
8 months.
8 months.
Wow.
And it
Wow.
the only section that you could go to as a woman there that you were not around all these federal prisoner men was, they did have a very, very small section under a locked door, of course, where you could do your laundry, where the beds were, and then, which was just a prison cell. That's all it was.
Mhm.
And literally, and a bathroom, a very small bathroom that you had to share. Um, and that was it. Oh, and it did have a very small TV room, but it only fit
Mhm.
like maybe 3 women in that room. But there was a TV and it was a room. So,
So,
um,
and you never knew how long you were going to be there. It was just
nope.
an open ended. You weren't
Hmm.
supposed to be there. They told you you were going to you don't have any choice. You're with us, but you never knew. So how did you get alerted that you were finally leaving there?
So I had gotten a job, so that I could get out of there, so I could
Yeah,
spend
get your
most of the
pass
day.
for the day.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. I was like, whatever I got to do to get out of this extremely scary and another extremely abusive situation that I did not feel safe at.
Hmm.
Um, so I was like, I'll go do anything, whatever that takes. Well, they were really strict, but they did let you work. So I got a job, and I was actually at that job, and I got a call um, from my manager from the job, and she was like, "Someone at the halfway house that you're at is trying to get a hold of you. You might want to call them." And I'm like, "Well, that's weird. Like, now what? Like what? Oh,
Yeah.
because it
Another
can't be
negative.
good.
Right.
There's nothing ever good. Like, what now? Jeez, I'm not even there. Like, I'm just
Right.
working." So I call reluctantly, thinking, "Oh, now what?" And they said, "Hey, good news. This CARES Act that I did know about when I was in prison. Um, they're finally implementing it." And I knew it went through when I was in prison, but I'm like, it's never going to be implemented, right?
Yeah.
And it was for low recidivism
Older
inmates that didn't
people.
have very much
Right.
time, that they could be released early.
Hmm.
And if they proved in prison that they did a lot of work, and I did a ton
Right.
of work and like worked in the education department, which I did, and
Right.
all of this, like proving like you're trying to do good and all of that. So I they had me on that. I guess it's nothing I applied for or anything. And anyway, so it went through, and so I was granted that. How exactly, I'm not sure, but whatever. I'm not going to argue it either. So so the halfway house was like, without any warning though, they're like, you got to come pick up your stuff now. And I'm like, well, I'm at work. And they're like, we don't care. Like, you're no longer here. Like, you have to pick up your stuff, sign the paperwork, and get out today. So I'm like, well, what? So I don't have any arrangements of where I'm going to go.
Hmm.
Oh, and I had to check in with a probation officer the very next morning. And I'm
Okay.
like, okay, but I don't have any arrangements of where to go. I had no warning. I'm at work, so if I were to leave right now, I could get fired. I'm just like, so I call my manager at work. I explain the situation, and so I was like, "Can I leave early?" Because I wasn't going to be like, "Oh, can I leave right now?" Like, and so they let me leave early,
Okay.
and so I was able to get back to the halfway house. I just threw everything that I could. I had a car, and I just threw everything I could in my car. There was no folding things. There was
Yeah.
no
You just
nothing.
got
Just,
out of there.
yeah, just got out, signed whatever paper I had to sign.
Hmm.
See you later. And I drove. Of course, my parents were gonna let me. They're like, "Oh my gosh, of course." So it was, they're 2 hours away. So I drove 2 hours, and had to check in with the probation officer the next morning, and there you go. And
Wow. What a
so,
story.
yeah, yeah.
Jeez.
Then I started 3 years of probation.
Then
So
three years of probation. Well, tell us about what you're doing now.
I just finished a book. I wrote a book on my whole experience. My name is
Just coming out
Saffron.
soon. Yeah.
Yes,
My name is Saffron.
yes, and it's not available right now, but it should be. I don't have an exact
So
release.
my
Release
name
date.
is Saffron. Voice is silenced.
Hmm.
Uh, what's this? What's it? Stifled
Stifled
and
and
taken
taken
away.
away.
Yeah. I
Because
was reading my
your
own
voice
handwriting.
is completely taken away when this happens to you. You have no voice.
Hmm.
And what I really learned in being in prison is how fortunate I was that I'm a white educated female. I
Hmm.
never would have thought that. And the white privilege thing, I never understood that, and never thought of myself as
Hmm.
a white privileged person. I worked really hard for everything I had obtained. That was my previous thoughts.
Yeah.
Going through the system and seeing that the majority of people that I were around were minorities. And you want to talk about being unfair. I had access to good lawyers. I had access to having an education. I had access to being English being my first language. People view me different because I'm white, and seeing the stark contrast of the women that I was there with, of how differently the system, even though I was treated horribly, horrible. Like, oh my gosh, they were treated worse. And um, I could not comprehend that. So, talk about voices being silenced, stifled, and taken away. Yeah, mine was, but the majority of women's voices were
Was
much more taken away than
was
mine.
that the was that the genesis of the idea for your nonprofit?
It sure is. Yeah. So I'm working on putting a nonprofit together, and it is specifically to provide many things. But what I noticed that was drastically lacking for these women when they came out of the system, when they finally got out, many of them would get just turned right back in because there was no support. They don't have, not all, but a lot. They don't have the family backing that I have. They don't have the friends that I have. They don't, I have friends that they own houses and have careers, and if I didn't have my family, I have friends that would take me in. So a lot of these women that I've seen, their friends were the friends that got them there in the first place. So, and they didn't have the family, and they don't have a resume. They don't have an education. They don't have anything to fall back on. So the nonprofit is through different ways, of course, but is providing one. The first thing that I found very important is job placement, to be able to provide jobs for them, because that's the huge thing. I was able to get a job in a medical office that did not take insurance, and that's unheard of. I have 2 felonies in medical fraud and tax evasion, and it was approved, of course, through probation and everything, because the place that I
Did
worked
you
at.
go in when you did that, Saffron, to your interview? Did you lead with that to tell them about here's who I am, here's my experience,
Yeah,
here's
so,
what's happened to me, and this is why I would be such a good candidate is because of what I have been through in my lived experience?
yeah. So I interviewed just like a normal person. I downplayed my resume, which was very hard for me to do. You have to give up your pride big time.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so I just made it sound on my resume like, I just have good customer service skills, and yay.
right.
Can I be a receptionist, please? And and so I got the interview because of that. And then I interviewed, and I could tell that they liked me, and I could tell that they were probably going to hire me. And so because of that, then and this had happened many times. I interviewed with a lot of people, and then I would tell them, okay, this is my situation. I'm in a halfway house. I was in federal prison, and you're going to be contacted, and they're going to tell you I am a federal prisoner, and that I'm in and so it's going to take a lot of, I can only be here for certain hours, and
Mhm.
if I stay longer, you have to call and say that you know that I'm here. I'm like, there's a lot that you have to do as an employer to even employ me, and so everyone had said no. But these people, they seem to be understanding somewhat, at least to my face. And they were like, well, because I was able to show like I had a lot of customer service and experience in medical, even though I super downplayed my my resume. It was very much, they knew I had experience in medical, and so they were like, well, wow, we weren't expecting that. Did you murder anybody? And I'm like, oh no, definitely
Didn't do
not.
that.
Yeah, no, no. And so they said they would do a background check on me and get back in touch with me. And I thought I would never hear from them again. And they did get back in touch with me, and they actually said I passed the background check, which either, again, I have no idea how. And they were willing to work with me with the halfway house and probation officer and all of that,
That's great.
which. Yeah, which never happens.
And I think there's a thread of a really good nugget of wisdom there for people who are listening to this is you're going to get turned down
Mhm.
because it's legal to discriminate against you,
Yes.
but not everybody is going to discriminate against you. If
No,
you
you still got to
present
try.
yourself
Yeah.
right, present yourself and who you are and why you were who you were, they didn't take away your brain, so somebody's going to see that.
Yeah.
And I think it's incredibly frustrating. It's the most humbling thing to, be at a point and be down at the bottom, but there will be somebody eventually that sees you for who you are, and that person will be a great person for you because for whatever reason they've chosen to walk with you and fight with you. Because,
Absolutely.
like you just said, Saffron, it's not easy to hire someone like us because they put a lot of conditions on us and make it hard for us to stay in a job
Yep.
because of the conditions that they put upon the employer. But you
Oh
got
yeah.
through that. You got through that.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, now I want to help others.
and
Yeah.
I think lived experience is going to be going through an experience like this and not wasting it and using it. And that's what you were doing in prison too.
Yep.
You were using and helping.
The best
And
that I could for the
yeah,
situation. Yeah.
but that is something very rewarding out of that. And it
Absolutely. It's
doesn't
like,
waste
mm-mm.
the time and experience that you went through.
No, and I try to look at it, if I have to go through this, let's turn it
Hmm.
into a positive.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
in life you can do that. You can pretty much
Yeah.
take any situation if you want to, and even if
It
it's
just
really bad.
depends on
Yeah.
a couple of things. It's your mindset,
Yeah.
uh, your ability to humble yourself and ask somebody for help
Yep.
because you'll need help,
Yep.
um, and the ability to just take action.
Mhm.
Those things, and not to lose hope.
Nope.
It's if you continue those along that road, you can kind of walk your way through. But I want to ask you, Saffron, after this is like a wild, crazy story that you just told
Yeah.
all of this.
Yeah.
A lot of really bad stuff that you had to walk through, but you also had a way that you did it that you didn't curl up in a corner and give up.
Mm-mm.
What do you think is your biggest takeaway from everything that you've experienced along this journey of this?
The biggest thing is being resilient in life, and just no matter, and I think this can apply to so many people in so many different situations. It really
Mhm.
can. Is no matter how bad it is, because we never know what that bad is, because to someone else that might not seem that bad, but if you're living it, it's really bad. So
Mhm.
whatever that is, you can still choose to look at it in a positive light and do positivity with it.
Mhm.
So I have known a lot of people, and I do not judge them because I understand the situation that they went through is really horrible. Same situation that I got thrown into, but they
Right.
look at it in more in a negative light, right? Because everything got destroyed. They can't do anything, or they think they can't do anything. They can, but it's a lot harder. There's more restrictions.
Mhm.
You have to really think outside the box to be positive once you go
Mhm.
through this type of situation. But my big thing is that you can, if you choose. And I would always get in trouble in prison because I would always be laughing. I'd always be like having fun. I had to work in the kitchen too, and I don't cook and at all. And it was hilarious that I was put there, but I still made it fun.
Mhm.
And I'd greet everyone that came in, and hey, how are you? I'd remember their names, and
Mhm.
it's the situation. Or I could stand there and be angry and bitter and mad, and think how horrible this is, and that would all be true. So that
Right.
I give validation to anyone that feels that. I'm not
Mhm.
judging, but if you want to be positive, if you want to feel better, if you want to do good in the world, no matter what your situation is, you still can, and it is a choice.
That's a
And
choice.
yeah, and I think it's
Yeah.
totally fine if you don't want to do that because you're like, this sucks, and that,
Mhm.
because that's true. And so I don't judge anyone that feels that, and because I understand. But no matter what your situation is, if you still want to be positive and do good in the world, you can. It might be
I
a little
think
bit
it's a
harder.
great. No, and
But
I think it's a great takeaway from somebody who spent 3 weeks in the hole and
oh my
then
gosh, yeah.
spent another 8 months at the halfway house you were told that you weren't going to be at, but you
Yep.
figured out how to make it work, and now you're out using your lived experience and to helping people. You got a book coming out, and I think all those things are because you maintained the ability to choose
Yeah.
to be positive and have the mindset that you were moving forward, and that's the difference maker. I think that's the secret sauce for sure.
Absolutely. Just in life. Yeah.
Just in life. Well, for those talking about gratitude, I want to thank Homestead Financial Home Mortgage for letting me use this podcast room. If you've got home mortgage needs out there, Greg Aftiev is your guy. He knows all the stuff. Um, if you got time, leave me a review on Apple. Go to brentcassity.com to find out what I'm doing on my website. I spell it wrong. It's with a TY, not a DY. As I used to say to my people when I was writing my emails back and forth from Leavenworth, stay strong. I'll do the same. Saffron, thank you so much for
Thank
being
you.
here today. Quite a story. I can't wait to read the book, but I think I got a
I'll let you know
lot
when
of
it's available
I think I,
soon.
I think I got a lot of good ingredients out of it today. But thanks so much for being on.
Yeah. Thank you.
It's it's your mindset is inspiring for people to listen to, because if you can get through that, you can get through a lot.
Sure can.
Nightmare success in and out.